And we're live. All right. Let me.
Ba-da-ba, ba-da-ba, ba.
I will also share.
Cool. All right, the link is up on Facebook. I'll pull up the stream link. All right, cool. So we can observe the chat. Bam.
Cool.
All right, we're all set.
All right. I'll switch it so they can see our beautiful faces.
Ba-da-ba-da. Cool. What's up there, internet? Behold, it is I, Steve, the warrior from beyond the moon. And I'm here with Kenny, the warrior from beyond the opposite side of the moon. Technically, everywhere is from beyond the moon, depending on what your perspective is.
I'm saying the dark side of the moon.
Yep. Or at least the other side of the moon.
Yeah.
Whichever side you can't see.
Taryn says the Grand Master is back. They are indeed.
One and true.
All right. Well, folks, it is State of the Nerd Union, and there's nothing happening today. Just kidding.
Yeah, basically, right?
Steve put that comment in the notes, and I was like, I mean, yeah.
It's like I was going through, like, I'm like looking over stuff. I'm like, because I'll kind of like make small notes throughout the week of like, I'll see like a news story come up and I'm like, okay, cool. I'll make note of that and I'll save the link or whatever and I'll consume it at some point. Or I'll be on Steam and I'm like, oh, cool. There's an update for this thing coming up. Let me jump into the note, like the patch notes or the update notes and I'll see, what was going on with that or whatever. I'm just like, nothing's going on. Basically, we're just all playing Resident Evil Village, and then everything's fine, I guess.
Yeah, it's either been that or Returnal, and Returnal's been
Yeah.
kicking my ass.
Did you beat the boss yet?
I did beat the boss. I meant to tell you
Hey,
that.
nice.
So there's a some weapons have a stagger mechanic, specifically the shotgun.
Stagger is overpowered.
Yes, I have been. So what happened during one of my first runs where I beat the boss, I got a. I got so like once your level determines what weapons you get on the map. So like I got to level 5 really quickly during one run. So the next shotgun I picked up, its stagger was like had a free blocks or free stat points on the stagger just on the gun itself, just on the shotgun.
Yeah, yeah.
I then get a boost to that being on the level, so being at level 5, so there's already a boost there. And then I went and attached a parasite that added a 30% boost to just stagger.
Nice.
So it wasn't even that I was hitting the boss that hard. The boss just couldn't get that many. Like it wasn't the bullet storm in my.
Yeah.
I had more. I was like, oh, I'm like, I'm like moving around.
I'm just vibing. I'm just standing here, boom, 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 just firing my shotgun, and it's like when you're playing Mortal Kombat with like your older cousin, and they just keep leg sweeping you over and over, and you're like, let me stand up and do some shit.
You're like, stop it. That's exactly what it was. So then I just ran. I ran through. Just ran
Nice.
through. Yeah. So then promptly got my ass beat when I went to the next biome or like the next environment. But
Yep, because you got to learn those new patterns, new enemies, and all that stuff.
and again, it keeps changing. So the last 2 runs I did, or not last 2 runs, but last couple of runs I've done, I've gotten new areas every time I walk out of the first spot. So I'm like, ah, crap. like I got like, yeah, it's messed me all up. But hey, I love it. I didn't think I would love it. I guess, but I guess it's similar to like, I guess the same thing like with Sekiro and Dark Souls. Like once I got it, once the brain got clicked into it, I was like, okay, I'm into it. So I guess I shouldn't be surprised at Returnal to some degree. It's like, yeah, of course I was gonna like it, and it's got the sci-fi thing. Because the sci-fi
Yep.
horror element is my jam. So
Yeah, it gives me big what's it called? Like Prometheus vibes.
yes, that is precisely.
Mm-hmm. But nice. I'm glad you're enjoying it. What was that? Yesterday, me and Kenny were talking yesterday. Me and the a bunch of folks hopped on stream. Well, I guess not folks, but folks in the comments hopped on stream while I was playing Resident Evil 8. So I played through like the beginning chunk of the game for about like a good like 4 hours or so. And there's like two really funny clips that were probably the funniest part of the stream. I was telling Kenny because he's also playing. I don't want to ruin it for him. But if you've gotten through the first leg of the game, then you probably have already experienced it. If you don't care about spoilers, then you can jump over to my channel. I'm Imminent Dunex, and you can watch those two clips. But it's really funny, and like we all kind of like erupted in laughter uniformly like throughout the chat. We're just like, wait, what? Like that's how that works? Sure, fine, okay. But yeah, it's a good time, and I'm really enjoying Resident Evil. I It's a lot easier than I thought it would be. I'm playing on normal, and I guess like I having not played very many of the previous Resident Evil games for quite a while. I kind of thought like that I wouldn't really have the skill set of like, oh yeah, I don't really know what to expect. There's gonna be probably some poor decision making I'm gonna make. Nah, on normal mode you can mess up almost anybody with the knife. Like I'm just saving tons of ammo. They're like, oh yo, here's 6 shotgun cells, and we got my favorite cousin to the shotgun cell, handgun ammo. Let's go. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, I'll just like 3 dudes will show up, and I'm just like, nah, let's go. And I'll just take out a knife and just go to town.
That's usually my plan. For whatever reason, I am failing with the knife, so I need to get. I'm messing the timing up. Now, what I mean is like, yes, I can kill someone with the knife. What I'm missing is on the like, I'm missing the animation for when they lunge, so I'm end up losing health
Yeah,
because I get into too many uh, physical encounters. Although
yeah.
I am noticing like they okay with the knife. If you use the environment to your advantage, which they clearly have geared this, that they really have geared that, especially in the demo and in the video playthroughs I've seen so far, is that
Hmm.
like yeah, if you set the stage right, then you can knife a lot of people and not get overwhelmed by too many people trying to come in. Because that's one thing that screwed me. I was like, I'm gonna stick to this knife. Ah, crap! Just 5. They're pouring into
Yeah,
the
I
stream.
sometimes I did have to whip out my shotgun or my handgun, and it was kind of like, all right, let me get everybody grouped together, and it's like say cheese, boom, fire my shotgun or something. But yeah, it's been generally pretty good. Sometimes I have to whip out the handgun, but like if it's like depending if it's like those real slow opponents, and I'm able to kind of just like gently walk to the right and like just stab them mercilessly, and they because they're swinging with their right hand. If you go to the left, you're gonna get the meet the business into that sword or hatchet or whatever. But if you go to the right, then you're good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah. I guess that's enough about Resident Evil for now. Let's hit into some quick hits. Chadwick Boseman earned a standing ovation over at the MTV Movie and TV Awards. He got a posthumous nod for his performance in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Wait, am I looking at the right notes?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. For Black Bottom, with an award voted for by fans. They gave the late Black Panther actor a standing ovation as Blackish actress Yara Shahidi accepted the award on his behalf. She quoted saying, "His impact is everlasting, and we're eternally grateful for the ways his presence and his art has changed the world." And he won the best performance in a movie at the MTV Awards. There.
Yeah, yeah.
What's a Twitter hashtag? There you go.
Yeah, I'm glad he's gotten. I mean, to be fair, he's gotten a lot of recognition before the Oscars, and I'm glad he's getting
Hmm.
recognition after it. So we talked about how difficult that awarding was, but I'm glad at least the public is still getting to have an opportunity to shower him with some
Yeah.
well due praise.
I think the important part was that like everybody acknowledged. 'Cause remember when it came out, they were kind of like, "Oh, are they doing it because he just passed away or whatever?" And it's like, no, if you watch, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, it's real good and his performance is real solid. So it's good that it's good to see his work appreciated, but it's also good to have it acknowledged that like it has nothing to do his acknowledgement to his prowess has nothing to do with his passing. It's just because he did a real good job.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Next up, in our segment that I'm going to remember the title to, for the Cinephiles. Let's see. Nice.
Not quite the same, but close.
Yeah. Regal and its parent company Cineworld has reached a deal with Universal. Universal had just recently gotten a deal with Warner Brothers and AT&T for their theatrical windows. So, and Cineworld is like the number 2 global exhibitor of movies. Reported from Deadline, any movie that makes or debuts over 50 million in a weekend will become a 31-day exclusive movie. Anything that's less than that will be a 17-day window, which I thought was a pretty interesting strategy because that also kind of just helps them gauge the longevity of that movie. And that's honestly a pretty solid spot. It's like, yeah, if something's less than 50 million, it probably would be served to be seen by more eyes on a streaming service. And if it's going to be over 50, then that probably was going to do really well. Probably would hit 200, or it just depends on how big the movie is. Like a Black Widow would probably be something that's like 300, 400, something like that. So the longer it can be in theaters and on screens makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, definitely agree. I think that's like I mean, I don't know anything about. Well, I'm gonna say anything, but I don't know much about what defines the thresholds for those points. But I think it's reasonable. Up next for still within the Cinephiles group, Blackish will end after season 8, and Mixed Ish is getting canceled after 2 seasons. Gotta enunciate, very very critical. Yeah, falling back on my my choral work.
It is a bit of a mouthful right
there. Mixed Ish. As if English wasn't difficult enough. Probably the biggest and blackest news out of the ABC upfronts is the fact that the first series out of the Kenya Barris cinematic-ish universe, the KBCU, I like that. Blackish has been renewed for its 8th and final season per a press release sent to the Root. Turns out that the show creator Kenya had a major hand in making the decision, noting on his Instagram page that it's rare to get to decide when your show should come to an end. He's quoted saying, the show has changed my life in so many ways, and I'm so proud of the conversations that we've started along the way. Kenya added in his lengthy caption, none of this would have been possible without our audience and supporters who have championed the show every step of the journey, allowing us to change not just the narrative of Black families, but of family culture, and the world in general, all the while allowing us to talk about things that people were not supposed to talk about, period, especially on network television comedy. According to Deadline, the series created by Kenya, Tracy Ellis Ross and Peter Saji. Is that right? Saji?
Yeah, Saji.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Has been canceled after 2 seasons. The series followed the younger years of Blackish's Rainbow Johnson and starred Arica Hamill, Tika Sumpter, and Mark Paul
Gosselaar.
It's like, that was these last names.
Is that Zach Morris?
Yes, and coterie of a whole group of other folks. Yeah, so unfortunately, the not every ish show in the I was going to say the Pantheon, but I guess the Blackish cinematic universe is as successful as Blackish. But the main trunk, media tends to go on for the longest in any case.
And we got that from was it Tanja Renee Stidham over at the Root reporting on that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and I don't know about Grownish. That was the one about the one of the teenage daughters.
Yes, in college.
Yeah, it's on Freeform, or it might have moved, but I don't know if that one's still happening because it's not. It was never included in that ABC deal, so I don't know.
Yeah. So I mean, there's still other shows within that quote unquote cinematic universe, or television universe.
Yeah,
Um,
television. Uh, and Taryn says Grownish is still going on Freeform. Thank you for that, Taryn.
nice. Thank you.
Let's see. Wait, what? Hold on, back up. Oldish is still planning to premiere on Abe's. What is Oldish?
Oh, that's the one about Lawrence Fishburne's character and Bunny is her in show
Oh,
name, the grandmother.
Jennifer Lewis. Oh
Yeah.
my
Yep.
gosh. That is fantastic. I did not know that was happening.
Yeah,
All right.
that one I was aware of.
Okay, I might. That's kind of exciting, because they are a hoot on that show. All right, so we're gonna pop a fan theory about Michael Rooker and all the Marvel dealings that happen whenever you're going into a secret project. It had been
Pop.
speculated that before Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 came out, that Michael Rooker showed up on the set to the Avengers Endgame Infinity War because he was, quote, trying to dissuade about or try to throw the scent off from his death getting ready to happen in Guardians Volume 2. But in a recent tweet from James Gunn, he revealed that no one ever flew Michael Rooker to the Endgame set to hide Yondu's death, but instead he was there to shoot the Halloween skin for the Guardians ride in Disneyland. All right. Okay.
Okay.
So for the folks that cared for that tidbit, but I will use it to lead into the bigger James Gunn news. And so Starro, actually, I'll quote from him from his interview of Den of Geek, where he's talking about the villains plural, in the Suicide Squad. He says Starro's hilarious because he's ridiculous. He's a giant cerulean blue starfish, but he's also effing terrifying. When I was a kid, I thought that was the scariest thing of all time, and also recognized that it was somewhat ridiculous. I think he's perfect. That exemplifies what this movie is. It is ridiculous, and it's also terrifying and serious at the same time. And the key part is that he says he does work really well as the villain of this movie, as one of the villains actually of this movie. But what we don't know is apologize. MovieWeb, who reports on this from the Geek interview, says that it could be Amanda Waller, but we already know Amanda Waller is kind of like the anti-villain a little bit in that, or anti-hero to some degree. She kind of like waffles between both of that. So her is the villain. Could it be one of the Suicide Squad members that goes off and does something on their own, becomes a villain, just like in the first movie,
And doesn't get their head blown up.
and doesn't get their head blown up? That's a key part right there.
I definitely agree about the Starro opinion. Starro is a weird villain,
Yeah.
but I like him.
Let's see what's up next.
God. There's a lot of cinephile stuff here that I lost my spot.
We are on Friends.
Yeah, okay. Sure. Friends reunion special will premiere this month. Long delayed Friends reunion special at HBO Max will finally be here for you, with the streamer announcing the official premiere date. Friends the Reunion will debut on HBO Max on May 27th. So 10 days. In addition, HBO Max debuted their first teaser trailer for the special, which is over. We have a link for it over on Yahoo. I'm sure you can find it if you Google it. But yeah, I'm sure everybody is excited about that.
Yeah. No word yet if David Schwimmer's going to remake a Black show that's already been made. or sorry, recreate a Black show that had already been made, which is the precursor to your show, in which you copied. But, you know, we won't talk about that. All right. Kiefer Sutherland, Jack Bauer himself from 24, is hopping over from Fox to CBS to do an action show for Paramount Plus, and water is wet. So here's the official log line, which we don't even know. Don't know the title of it, but they have a They have we don't know the title of it, but they have a log line for it. The series finds private espionage operative. What is a private espionage? Never mind. Never mind.
Like a private investigator, I guess.
Or a mercenary? Like, I don't.
A private espionage.
A private spy?
Yeah, a private. It's a private investigator who is also willing to maybe has more skills. It's a super private investigator.
Burn Notice ripoff James Weir in the middle of a battle over the preservation of democracy in a world at odds of misinformation, behavioral manipulation, the surveillance state, and interests that control these extraordinary powers.
I gotta say that sounds boring.
Yeah, I'm not excited.
I feel like that's maybe every action television show for the past what year is it now? 2021. I don't know, 25 years.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Miscellaneous adventures that sometimes leave the city, but mostly do not.
Miscellaneous adventures.
Sometimes leave the city. It's like, it looks like we need to takes off sunglasses, catch the bus, and they go like one town over. This is cross-jurisdictional.
Do you get the little guitar wail? Wow!
Wow!
Smash cut into the credits.
Yeah! Let's see. Oh, this is some neat news. So Marvel's Secret Invasion will be helmed by Thomas Bazooka and Ali Salim. So they're being called in to direct the Secret Invasion series. So far, we don't have any details on the plot. We don't know how many episodes there's going to be. We don't know how long the episodes are going to be. If they're going to be, 22 minutes. If they're going to be, what's the other options? Like 42. If they're going to be hour long, or whatever the deal is going to be. But we do know that it's going to include Olivia Colman, Amelia Clarke, who I think is from Game of Thrones, Kingsley Ben-Adir, and of course Sam Jackson coming back as Nick Fury. Also, brief aside, while I was writing this, is there another Samuel Jackson in Hollywood such that makes us call Samuel L. Jackson all the time without it? Like, was there another Sam Jackson around?
I knew the answer to this. Oh, it's because you cannot. So, it's the same thing like Michael J. Fox. The reason it's Mike is not, instead of it being Michael Fox, it's Michael J. Fox, is because of the Actors Guild and how they register names. So you can have variations, but you can't be the exact same. So they want you to do like a junior, or like put your initial in there, something to differentiate in that registry and log.
So if there's ever been any Samuel Jackson before, you can't take that name. You have to use your middle initial or something like that. Gotcha. Interesting.
Sometimes some people will pick it ahead of time just to kind of like make their get their brand on it.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. Interesting.
And Taryn in there for the win. In Samuel L. Jackson's case, he probably had to distinguish himself from 1960s era character actor named Sammy Jackson. Was still doing TV work and small movie roles in the 1980s and early 90s, exactly when Samuel Jackson would have been getting started. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. I figured that was the case, but like not knowing Samuel L. Jackson being so big now, it was hard for me to find when I was just curiously looking it up. What also would have been neat if he took the last letter from his first name and just scooched it over, like Samuel L. Jackson. That would have been neat. If I ever become a movie star, I'll do the same thing, and hopefully people will get confused and be like, "Oh yeah, Samuel L. Jackson is going to be in it." It's like, "Oh, Samuel Jackson." It's like, no. Speaking of other things that are confusing, is your favorite NBC show in limbo? We'll tell you why. The fates of Good Girls, Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist, Manifest, Debris, and Ellen's Game of Games are up in the air as far as what shows will be returning, which will be returning series or just getting canceled. The reason being that NBC is already kind of made the list of like, here are all the shows that are coming back that you can expect. However, those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shows are still airing, so they haven't made a decision on what the fate of them is going to be, and they want to give them a fair shake in terms of, the show's not over, it's still going on. We'll see how things turn out, and then they'll decide, what's getting canceled and what's coming back. So all the options are on the table, supposedly. So it is entirely possible that all of those shows could get renewed, but it's also equally possible that all of those shows could get canceled. So that's why we don't know. So if one of your favorite shows is on that list, now's probably the time to start telling people to watch it. Or maybe, several weeks ago was probably the time to tell people to watch it.
I will say the thing I'll be keeping an eye on is as more and more studios get streaming services, like CBS had CBS Plus, CBS All Access, which is now Paramount Plus, and now NBC's got Peacock. ABC obviously could just dump things onto Disney Plus. If there's going to be shows that they decide the money doesn't make sense to do it on network TV, but we could make these numbers work for a streaming platform. So if they're like, for like Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist, for example, if they're like, we're going to cut the budget by like $1 million, and you can still run, but we got to cut it down just a bit. But we can put you on streaming and maybe get a couple more seasons out of you, as opposed to like just canceling it and then having to find, because there's also a cost associated with starting a new show, getting more people back into the building and like doing a new thing. So I'd be kind of curious, because this will be one of the first times we actually get to see this happen and play out. So I'd be kind of curious to see what happens.
Yep, casting takes a long time. And if you're like starting from scratch, starting from something brand new, you got to go through a whole bunch of people. Yeah. And we're still in a pandemic, so that might not be super duper easy.
Yeah.
Let's see. Where is it? Show notes. Where we at, Kenny? Where we at?
So it's game time. Oh no, I apologize. I did not put words.
Okay, here we go. You do that. Stargate Timekeeper game is in development. Oh wait, we doing that one first?
No, go ahead.
All right, cool. Timekeeper game is in development. Stargate SG-1 expands into a real-time strategy game with a new title from. Is that actually Slytherin? Slytherin, and Creative Forge Games, now in development for PC. Yeah, I'm surprised they got away with that. Set between seasons 7 and 8 of Stargate SG-1, the game will release on PC along basically in Steam. I haven't watched Stargate, not for a long time. I feel like I watched it maybe like the first 2-3 seasons some time ago, but I feel like I don't remember anything about it because I watched what was that? I watched Battlestar Galactica like a year or two ago, and that was so good. I felt like it like squashed my mental capacity to remember other space-faring television shows.
I was gonna say, I feel like the biggest problem for me was, when Stargate came out, it was on Showtime. I think it was either Showtime or Stars. So I didn't have access to that as a kid. So it was on there for a while. Then by the time I got like watching sci-fi and everything, it was like, okay, Battlestar's coming out. So yeah, cool. And then old reruns of Stargate were coming out, and I'm like, So to your point, Battlestar was just so much better as far as like production quality and just like writing and stuff, that it was like I just couldn't get into Stargate. Now I have eventually gone and watched quite a bit of it, and there's like characters I really love on it, but when you said that, I was like, oh, I resonate with that.
Yeah, it's like one of those shows that like I always forget, because I feel like when it was on, there was like a lot of really good science fiction television that was out. So the competition was really stiff. So it's like often a show that I forget exists, and I'm like, oh yeah. I am glad that they're getting their own game. I will mention quote unquote unprovoked, that there is a very fun Battlestar Galactica game that's on Steam, that's been out for quite some time. And as far as I can tell, the online community for it is pretty solid. It's
Is that
called
Deadlock?
yeah, Battlestar Galactica Deadlock. You can craft your own ships, and you know,
Yeah.
send units to go fight battles. You can just, you know, send some units to go fight a battle, to combat the Cylons, or you can go and engage with them yourself, and then you control and do all the nitty gritty of the ship stuff. I'm very bad at it, because I'm not really good at real time strategy games, or at least not historically. But it is a lot of fun. I think the like large cruiser style ship I named Battlestat Galacticac, and I thought it was hilarious. And like every time I lost a ship, like, you sunk my battle stack, and that was like my internal meme to myself.
Wow, that's pretty
But
good.
yeah, welcome to what it's like to be inside my head while I'm playing games.
No,
But
I appreciate the insight. I want to
there's
say,
some Pokemon. Oh wait, sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, super quick, because I know there's an Aliens game, Alien Fire Teams coming out later this summer.
Hmm.
So, did Stargate? So Battlestar makes sense a lot from a RTS running the ships. So I'm like, okay, got it. Stargate could have that to a degree, but the humans were like always hella outnumbered. They might have
Hmm.
had one or two ships that were like, oh man, this one's boss, but then like more Gaul to show up, and you're like, or sorry,
Hmm.
you're like, fuck. Every time, so I don't know how they're gonna do that from a story perspective. Uh, but also, if it's more about the teams, like the SG teams that go for the gate and like explore, honestly, I would kind of feel like a Telltale series would be a better fit for that, because it's
Hmm.
not necessarily about the fighting per se, but
The
you're like
action.
exploration, yeah, and it's like the and what you're on a new planet, and here's a story about this town or this entity that you've interacted with, not so much about exploring the entire, like, it doesn't need to be like open world explore the entire planet you get to. It's always been more about the get there, here's the situation, and how would you roll initiative.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. I I agree. I'm not sure like how it's gonna play. I'm looking over at the what do you call it, the news page, um, and comically enough, I just looked it up. Slytherin, the company that is doing this Stargate game, is the same company that made the Battlestar Galactica game, Deadlock. Um,
Oh,
So
I
I
wonder if
would,
it's
because I was thinking like, what, you know, what's the style of the game going to be, and they really only release like a teaser, so there's not any. I don't think there's any gameplay that we get to look at. But you know, if maybe a Telltale game could work, I was thinking maybe it would be something that fits the style more of what was that game? I spent literally like 120 hours playing it. Turn based RTS. There's something. Hold up. I'm stalling for time.
hold up,
Stalling for time.
hold up, hold up.
It's in my favorites. I will remember the name of the game momentarily. XCOM. XCOM 2.
Oh,
I think so, like a style like XCOM 2 could work well for Stargate. But they already have the Battlestar Galactica, like, you know, engine more or less, and all those assets and all that stuff. So maybe they'll make something that's more similar to that. Not sure.
yeah. If that's the case, I'd be curious what the stories are about. But like, that is a fun system. I like that.
Hmm.
All
But
right,
well, time will tell.
time will tell. Time after. All right, and we're not gonna finish
Hmm.
that one. So there's been some patches to Pokemon Sword and Shield, and as usual, Nintendo's not very forthcoming on a bunch of details regarding like what those patches are, unless it's like
Hmm.
big news updates. But if you had been trying to play with Kyogre and Gruden, you may have noticed the move Trick just didn't work at all on them. You would try it and they would just fail ridiculously. That has since been patched. Now I don't know if there's been a ton of people getting ready to run that move on them, but your concerns have been heard and Nintendo has made the appropriate patch.
Nice.
And just some other like just quality of life improvements across the board. So yeah, that is the update. I kind of wish it had been bigger, but
Yeah, but I mean, I don't own Sword and Shield, so I don't care.
what?
But in other news,
What?
last for Nintendo, we have the Mario Golf Super Rush trailer that was released this past week. Um, if you Mario Golf is surprisingly like a kind of a staple game for Nintendo. Um, it's gotten a couple of versions across various iterations of the Nintendo systems, and it's coming to the Switch. Naturally, it comes with the option to play with a controller or motion controls, if that's your jam. Watching the trailer, for somebody who doesn't care about golf, I feel like Mario Golf has always done a really good job of taking the uh, general boringness of golf and the disinterest of it being
Yeah, yeah.
what it is, and making it really approachable and a lot of fun. To be speaking statistically, the only reason that any of us give a damn about golf is straight up and down because of Tiger Woods. Um,
And
I
people can try to say other athletes and be like,
It's
okay,
not.
it's
The
not.
data says it is just because of Tiger Woods. I think before he came into the scene, and I don't have the numbers, but I read an article on it quite some time ago. Before he came into the scene, what do you call it? Winnings from tournaments and championships were meager at best. Like, they were on the decline. The rewards were going down further and further down, and like your opportunity to like make a career out of playing golf was like more or less going down the drain, and people weren't watching. Tiger Woods showing up and being as successful as he was, the pots for tournaments started to go way up.
Mm-hmm.
Like people were watching a lot more golf. Like every time I went over to my great grandmother's house, she'd always have on Tiger Woods, despite the fact that like she doesn't really care about golf. She's just happy to see him being successful. And we all know, what happened to Tiger later, but like the reason that anybody gives a damn about golf, that anybody's making games about golf, even talking about golf at all, is because of Tiger Woods. That said, Tiger Woods is going to be in a Nintendo game. No, I'm just kidding. No, he's not. But you can make a Tiger
That would
Woods
have been
me.
Italian.
That would have been a tie-in. You can make a Tiger Woods me coming to the game. Speaking of me's though, you can create a Tiger Woods me. You can create your own character that you get to level up with like different skills and attributes and stuff like that. There's challenge modes in the game. There's bosses in the game. Boss fights in the game, I should say. Not just like, oh, you need to battle Ken Griffey Jr. when he had a brief golf career. But he's the mini boss for this stage or whatever. Like, there's not stuff like that, but it looks like there's like actual boss fights. They've added some modes that take the most boring part about golf, which is the slow pacing, and like vastly ramp it up, where you have like four player free for alls where you're all golfing at the same time and have to sprint to where your ball is and some other stuff.
Oh,
As
okay.
somebody again who does not care about golf, they made it like really appealing and really approachable for people who don't care about golf, because they know like this is a staple game that people like and enjoy, but like you got to do the legwork to get people to say, okay, this is worth paying $60, $45, $50,
Yeah.
whatever for. Unlike some games, looking at you, Pokemon Snap.
What you got against Pokemon? Yeah, it shouldn't be $60 game.
It's not a $60 game. It's not a $60 game. Not without adding some stuff. It's not a $60.
That's like my Spider-Man Miles Morales rant.
Yeah,
Fantastic
it is. It's very fun. It's very fun, but it ain't $60 fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Nintendo understands, like, you gotta do the legwork. You can play online. There's local co-op, all that razzmatazz. It looks pretty solid. I probably am not gonna get it because again, I'm not a golf person. If I buy a local co-op game, I like it to be something that is party centric, where I can be like, hey, here's this game, here's punch, jump, heavy punch, block, let's go. Or, here's you move and you jump, that's the only thing you got to worry about. So I tend to get stuff that's very easy pick up and play. golf with motion controls is pretty pick up and play. But also, I don't like golf, so I'm not going to buy the game.
I will say, because I have not played. What have I not? I've not played any of their sports series since Wii U. But I will say,
the Wii U sports are so good, yo.
Yeah, they are fantastic. I played because
Tennis was the best game ever made.
Mario and Sonic
at the Olympics.
The Olympic series is really good. But I feel like Nintendo really nailed their sports titles from the Wii on, just because you already had Wii Sports, and people were like, it was bundled in. People were like, oh, I get this, I got it, okay, and like.
You swing a baseball bat like this? Yeah. You swing a tennis racket like this?
whether that's perfect or not. But...
throw a bowling ball like this?
No, I think some people eventually would just kind of like flick. Like they wouldn't even do the full arm motion. They just like flick.
Yeah, because you don't need to.
But yeah, I feel like that's when they got into their golden age, because the other ones on the GameCube and N64, like they're fine. There are things that happened. Just don't. Yeah. I feel like that's when they won a lot.
Yeah, it's the motion controls. They really nailed it. They figured out how to have fun, and like the controllers are just so goddamn sensitive. It baffles my mind. The tech demo of having them be like, oh cool, like this is a digital box, and you can shake the controller, and like I want you to tell me how many balls there are in the box, and they'll shake the Wiimote, and they're like, it feels like there's 3, and like the screen, they punch in 3 or whatever, and the screen lifts up, and it's like, it's 3 balls. Like, you did it. I'm like, that's bonkers that you can convey to a person that like they're shaking a box with like 3 spheres in it was wild to me.
Yeah.
But that's it for the game time. Moving into our check the tech segment. You want to hit the first one, the CAPTCHA story, Kenny?
I will indeed. All right. Y'all all know what CAPTCHA is. The thing you got to do to prove that you're not a robot.
Yeah, it's how you prove you're a Pokemon master. You throw the ball and you capture a Pokemon.
But a lot of times, in this article from The Verge, it does a really good breakdown of what CAPTCHA is, why it's frustrating. It's because, I mean, y'all have probably seen the Jordan Peele sweating memes regarding like that sliver, when you do the photo checker box and you're trying to like pick the things out, and just that lights or that stop sign is just a triangle of it is in the box, and you're like, God, I don't want to have to redo this for the second time. Please tell me that's not part of it. But Business Cloudflare says that it aims to get rid of CAPTCHAs completely by replacing them with a device, which they're calling the cryptographic attestation.
What a weird word.
So right now it only supports a certain amount of USB security keys. So if you're used to like the Google Authenticator, Titan key, and like they're talking about UB keys. So essentially you could insert this into your desktop or laptop, tablet, so on and so forth. It recognizes you are the one that is in on that session. So then when you go to a website that would require CAPTCHA, it would recognize that key is inserted and then move forward from there. But that also would require some back-end work from those specific websites. So this is not going to be... as much as CAPTCHAs also can be run outside of the site, there's going to be some additional kind of... it's not going to be a one-size-fit-all, most likely.
Sounds interesting, though.
Yeah, I guess I just don't... I mean, it is annoying, but I don't know if I need... Okay, I guess if there's already something I'm authenticating to get onto the site anyway, and if it's an additional check inside of that, so I don't have to do an additional thing, then yeah, I actually would be okay with that. If it's like, hey, you're logging into PayPal, and we noticed that you used your Google, like, authenticator to get onto this. Okay, so you getting into this, you're good. If that's how it works, I'd be cool with that, because then I don't have to do an additional step. Like, that authentication is already inside of that. But if it's like, if it's still another step, then I don't
Then it's
know.
like,
You might
yeah.
as
For
well.
me, it's like they've already improved the captcha such that like if you've done one recently, like it seems to kind of have cached your response somewhere, and I'm like, oh, cool. This is already sufficiently effective for me. Like, I don't mind clicking this picture, like a couple of times every once a week or something, or once every 2 weeks
Yeah, yeah.
when my cookie expires. Like, to me, it's not that big of a deal. Um, and it feels a little bit like one of those projects that you're like, as a developer, you're like, who wants to be lazier? You're like, yeah, I'm gonna do this thing so I never have to do a capture ever again. It feels like it. I mean, I won't say it feels over engineered, but it feels like a solution to a not that big of a problem.
Yeah.
Unless like it affords you some greater security overall, which it might. But
Yeah, it
in
might.
as far as like resolving the issue of, man, I hate doing these captures, like it doesn't feel like that big of a problem.
Yeah. Slight annoyance, but not a. It's not a massive thing to tackle. It almost feels like not Tubi, Quibi. It almost feels like when Quibi was like, don't you just wish you had videos you could watch that be like like when you have extra time in your hands? I'm like, yeah, it's called YouTube.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't need a TV streaming service specifically for when I'm bored. I
Yeah.
already have Netflix and Hulu. Like, if anyone really wants to watch TV, they'll do it and download those apps, or they'll watch something short, like on their Facebook
Hmm.
or on their. Sorry.
Or
So,
YouTube. Yeah, we were talking about this just before the show started, Kenny. Like I was saying, like I was complaining about, well, not really complaining, but more making an observation of how people will have like 80 tabs open or like
uh,
100 tabs open and whatever, and I'll have like maybe four windows, and one window's my D&D window, and I have a whole bunch, and I have like five tabs open over there. Like I have my main one that's my entertainment one, and when I pop on YouTube, I'll open up like the five videos that interest me, and over the next however many hours I'll eventually watch them or whatever. But like, when you're bored, you got a downtime, or you just want to kind of chill out, and it's like, oh yeah, let me watch this video about how to get out of a headlock. That sounds interesting.
there you go.
um any other points about capture?
No, all good.
Okay, cool. All right, moving on down. Twitter subscription service may cost $3 whole.
Trade video.
Twitter's expected subscription service might have a name and a price. Code Sleuth Jane Manchun Wong says that she's found resources suggesting that the service will be called Blue and start at $3 a month. Your outlay would get you a handful of previously leaked features, including undo tweets, collections that let you save or that let you organize saved posts. Oh, that read a little bit weird. The service may include. I was expecting rule of threes. The service may include multiple tiers that deliver extra features. Wong added. She suggested that a more expensive option might include a clutter-free reading interface from Twitter's recent Scroll acquisition. Twitter declined to comment. But if accurate, the strategy wouldn't be surprising. Twitter would set a relatively low price to court as many enthusiasts as possible, but entice the most devoted fans that are willing to pay more. Along with TipJar, Blue would be a part of a broader effect to reduce Twitter's dependence on ads and steady its income. Whether or not it works is going to be an entirely different matter. Many folks are used to Twitter being free, and there's no certainty that even frequent users would pay in order to use a social network experience. For me, I feel like, people were like, oh man, nobody wants to pay for social network experiences. Nobody wants to pay for social network experiences. But like for me, like I'd be fine paying somebody like $5 if it meant that you would just stop fucking selling my information to anyone who asked you for it.
Yeah. Actually, I'm surprised someone hasn't come out with a package deal, to be completely honest. If someone said you could pay $10 a month and Facebook, Twitter, guess what do I use the most? YouTube, and like I don't know, maybe throw one more social app in there, and it's like, and they won't track your data. That would be I'd have to consider it.
So not tracking your data would be one thing. I'd still believe they would track my data, but if they said they would stop selling it, then you'd have my attention.
Yeah.
Because it's like, what's the phrase? If you use any product that's free, then the product is you, is the phrase or whatever. Like, paying for the social media, why, like, convincing somebody to pay for something that's free is usually difficult when there are other comparable things that are suitable replacements. However, when the next closest comparison to Facebook is MySpace. Like,
Yeah.
nobody's gonna be like, oh, I'm abandoning Facebook and I'm gonna go to MySpace. Like, or I'm sure there's probably another competent comparison that folks use that I'm just not aware of, because I'm not keeping my ear to the floor for other Facebook alternatives. But
You could go to Google Plus.
yeah, right. We go to
I think
Google
it's
Plus,
been dead for a year and a half, 2 years.
something like that. But, like, it's not a completely, like, super taboo thing. Like, I guess it's more taboo for the first company that decides that they want to charge people $3 to use their service or whatever. $3 is eventually going to be 10. We all know 10's the goal. 10's the golden price of, like, you can ask anybody to pay $10 a month for pretty much anything, and they will probably agree to it. But, like, it does, for me, it doesn't seem to be such a bonkers taboo idea to think that somebody would be willing to pay $5 to use Facebook. I'd pay $5 to buy a browser extension that blocks ads on Facebook. So that's the same thing.
I think that's a great way to think of it. That's perfect. That's the tweet.
Yep.
That's the tweet.
All right, Facebook, send me the check. I've already done your marketing for you.
Let's see. Shelby says, "Did I miss Resident Evil talk?" Yeah, a little bit. Steve was talking about their Steve from earlier. I'm talking about
you were there. Shelby, I believe you were in the stream when it all went down. If not, I clipped it. It's on my page. You can check it out.
Let's see. Coming up next, actually, I think this is our second to last. Yeah, you're about done. Sharing your password may be a thing of the past, says CTV News, and an article kind of breaking down where the state of sharing your password is at, because recent streamers like Disney Plus and Peacock and HBO Max have been toying with ideas on how to implement or be more restrictive in how passwords are shared, particularly because there's a lot of lost revenue and people that could potentially be paying for those services. Now, that does kind of bring up a question of, all right, if you lock out the passwords, would people even pay? Like, I think there's a major assumption there. It's like, you don't know for sure that they would all of a sudden didn't do that, because it's been the shared password model for so long. Like, I don't know. I think people that are so used to it and having Netflix, or so used to having a particular service, would then find a way to pay for it or get that and implemented. So I definitely think they're right in that regard. But was it the quote from the CTV News article said password sharing is estimated to cost streaming services several $1 billion a year in lost revenue. Yeah, but just, I guess,
sucks to suck.
Yeah, but I guess I'm saying it's like the assumption, you can't then make the assumption that you would make those $1 billion back by turning on like a password protection. It's like, you don't actually know that. I think
if anything, the people who, like, I have access to Netflix, and I'll occasionally watch stuff through my partner's Netflix, but, like, I could tell you 100% of the time that I would just never use it if that's the case. Like, you're not gonna get converts of, like, oh man, like, now I'm gonna get, like, it's not gonna be a 1-to-1. Like, by just putting a password protection, like, everybody who's watching Netflix is now gonna just buy their own thing. That ain't gonna be how it's gonna go down.
Yeah. So me and Tom might break that down more this Wednesday, but because we also have a lot to catch up on, because I've been took a little bit of a 2-week break. But yeah, I'd be curious to see. It's one of those things where it's like, man, if you never made it a thing, and this is not knocking Netflix for this, but it's just kind of one of those things of like, if you never made it a thing, then it wouldn't be a thing. Like we would be used to it. If it had been a thing from the beginning of Netflix of like one account, one TV, and maybe, and I'd have to go back and read, maybe Netflix didn't care at the time because they thought, well, hey, but we're getting eyes on our stuff, right? So maybe that was their calculus. I have to, but again, I don't know that for sure. I have to go back and read if they said anything at that time, but it kind of just makes you wonder, like, man, if you made that decision earlier though, maybe I wouldn't be having to, because trying to pull the plug on it now, it'd be like trying to tell people to quit torrenting. Like, yeah, because that stopped.
Yeah. Well, I think that the thing is, so you really have to do like a cost benefit analysis with how valuable is it to have the innate popularity that comes with having as many eyes on your stuff, on your media as possible. So let's say if like Netflix is showing cartoons. So the purpose of cartoons is not to get kids to watch cartoons. The purpose of cartoons is to get kids to buy toys. So is it more important that everybody who watches your cartoon be paying to watch the cartoon, or is it more important that as many people watch your cartoon so even more people will buy toys? And when you look at it like that, you kind of have to look at it. Well, okay, well, how much money are we making in merchandising from our television shows or from our cartoons or whatever? And would that number be as high if only every person who had a subscription to Netflix is watching the show? Because if on average, let's say there are for one Netflix account, there's there's 3 other people watching. So there's like a 4 multiplier roughly. Let's be generous and say that only 2 people use every Netflix account. Then you're doubling your pairs of eyes watching all your stuff. So then there's more people who are knowledgeable about your IPs. So that might be buying, the Funko Pops and the T-shirts and the laptop skins and all that other razzmatazz. And you really have to do a cost benefit analysis of, do you want to stop people from getting eyes on your stuff, or do you want to take the risk that people will splurge and they'll get a subscription? Because you won't lose any subscription money by reducing the number. Theoretically, let's say you won't lose any subscription money by reducing the number of accounts or password verification or whatever, so that only one person can be watching at a time. Because everybody who already is paying for Netflix is probably going to keep paying for Netflix. Yeah. But you're going to lose money if from merchandising stuff. And what's the cost benefit analysis of that? And there's probably something supply and demand curve, blah blah blah, economics that I don't understand. But to me, that's the deciding factor. It's not necessarily getting dollars for views, but dollars for shirts and keyboards and mice and all that other funky stuff.
Yeah, I feel like I think that kind of makes Netflix the short stick on this, because Disney's always selling merchandise.
Mm-hmm.
So honestly, they could. I'm not saying they will do this, but they could probably make Disney Plus free, and just make money off the merchandise of new things they put out on that. But to your point, and then I think the problem with some of the other streamers is like Hulu, NBC's Peacock, and then CBS Paramount. They all run ad versions on there. So even if someone is sharing a credential, you're getting ad money because that's an extra person that's seeing those ads. So
you can charge more for those ads because more people are seeing them.
Yeah, but Netflix is in a tricky. If Netflix not having an ad option, that kind of puts them in a tricky spot.
Yeah,
I can see why they would want that extra money, but
there's no guarantee. It's they're in a rough spot. It's like can you undo it? Probably. Like you could implement this feature and be like, we only want to have one account or whatever, and it could blow up in their face and go absolutely wrong, and I feel like there's probably enough goodwill in the system that you would get probably maybe 80 to 90% of the people back. With it, like, if like if let's say if my mom has a Netflix account or she uses mine that I don't have,
Mm.
or whatever, and they can't, and like they cancel, I'm like, oh mom, I can't share my Netflix account or whatever. She might be like, all right, I'll just go get Hulu. They got Bob's Burgers anyway, and that's the only show I watch. I don't care. She might go on Hulu, and I'm like, oh mom, they changed the thing. You can watch Netflix again. She'd be like, I don't care. Because that's entirely possible too. Like, how much is Hulu? What's
Yeah.
the magic number? I think it's 10.99 or whatever for a month. It's like, dude, that's the $10 is nothing. So my mom can afford that, no problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
She might not come back, but I would wager you probably, like, free is free. You probably get most of your customer base back if you tried it and failed and then tried to revert. At least maybe not initially, but like you probably get 60% of people back easy, no problem, and then hopefully over time you get maybe 80%, 85, something like that. But I don't know. That's just speculation on my part. But
Speaking of ads, though, what if that's the
mhm,
fix? If you pay for Netflix,
mhm,
you don't get ads. That's what you're paying for. If you additional accounts on your account can watch based on your plan, whatever you're on, but they have to pay.
mhm,
They have to get ads. And then if you wanted to
hmm,
get those removed, like Hulu has like an extra $5 to get ads removed. So Netflix would do the same thing. And be like, hey, you want to get ads removed for your family plan or your
for your
group?
extra account.
Then add an extra dollar or something.
That's actually pretty good. And
Dang it!
so as
Call me
so
Netflix.
that's a good idea. As the min maxer that my mom and I are, I'll tell you a brief anecdote, which I may have told before. So back in the day, when you went to Best Buy and you bought a gift card, they used to sell the gift cards in these little like CD cases, probably because they got a billion of them they need to get rid of.
Yeah,
But on the back
yeah.
of the CD case, they had a little like $5 coupon that you could cut out, and you could use one of those coupons on any single purchase or whatever, and you would get $5 off. So if you ring up items individually, you just do the same thing and you get $5 off of everything. So what we used to do is we would go to Best Buy and you take all the gift cards that were there, put $1 on all of them, and you just get $5 coupons for free that you could use on anything. So
Ah,
they don't do that anymore. My mom and I joke that it's because of us.
yeah, you're
But
broke.
when you mentioned adding the extra account on there, to me, my immediate thought is like, oh, cool. So if I get an extra account, I can have my friend just send me like $5. Cause what's the subscription? The magic number $10, 10.99. I can have them Venmo me, like, or not Venmo, because Venmo is garbage. Well, maybe not anymore. It might not be. They can PayPal. But it's owned by the same company now. Venmo used to be real bad. Venmo used to be real
Yeah,
bad.
it's a thing. That
I did
it's
a security analysis of them in college, and I was not impressed. But I could have my friend send me $5, and I'm like, bam, you get an account on my thing, for my Netflix or my Hulu or whatever HBO Max, and you just give me $5, and that way you don't have to pay for a full account. You don't have to watch ads. I get $5, and there you go, and you good. So the cheese part of me, which is like, oh cool, extra accounts are only $5. Everybody who want an account, give me five, like send me $5 every month or whatever, and I'll hook you up, and you good to go. But that also requires coordination, and everybody not that and isn't not that lazy. So not everybody's going to do that, but it's an option. It's an
I
option.
mean, but you think about it. I mean, because people probably network anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's probably one or two family members, a couple friends. When I first started out, it wasn't my family; it was roommates. So
Yep.
that the people could watch in different places of the house, right? And then eventually, yeah, it became family and like one or two. But it always seems like one rotating person always seems to be like a roommate on the accounts. Maybe just somebody that really needs. It's like I really want to watch this thing and I don't have it. I'm like, yeah, sure, I got one extra or I have one extra slot, but I need you
Mm-hmm.
to check it out, then get off because I need to give it to someone else or something. Because all of mine are maxed. People ask me to
Yeah,
borrow
yeah.
HBO Max, and I'm like, I can't. I don't. I can, cannot
We
get.
are at capacity.
Yeah, man. Did we just?
But
Not
all
pyramid.
right, cool.
Not
Yeah,
pyramid scheme.
we've
Let's
solved the streaming problem.
What's it called? We just did refer offend. That's what we just did.
We fixed it for the consumer, not for the end. Forget them. We're looking out for the people.
That's right. Got to give the people.
Give the people what they want.
Man,
Nice.
that's a theme song for a sports show. But I was like, man, I wish I could use it. Yeah. I mean, I know the song didn't start in that show. I'm saying, but like, man, if I could, if we could get that, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, we're legally not allowed to sing any more of the song, or else we gotta pay for it. Where we have sharing password. Okay, cool. Discord celebrates its 6th birthday. They had a recent update over their UI to make things a little bit cleaner, because if you've ever used Discord, trying to find a particular setting to do literally anything is a hassle and a half. But they've made some minor changes to their UI, their logo, and a couple of other things. I also remember I think it was a little while ago, Microsoft had briefly expressed interest in buying Discord. And Discord's like remained free for a long time. You know, they have they rely on customers who want to spend money to improve the quality and capabilities of their Discord servers and stuff like that. I support a couple of Discord servers because I like the people there, and I want us to have better audio quality when we chat. But they rely on that. It does. And I'm glad that they don't have like a mandatory subscription service, because you would just have vastly fewer people on it. And it being the tool that it is, and being able to create the communities that you can create, like ours, for example, for State of the Nerd Union, beep beep beep, bop bop bop, is super valuable, and allows like folks to engage easily and quickly, in a world where Skype came out like 13 years ago and just never innovated literally anything, and the rest of the world is caught up. So it's wonderful. Happy birthday, Discord.
Happy birthday, Discord.
Cool. Which brings us to our last topic. Did the AT&T and Warner Brothers merger fail?
Basically.
But why?
Debt. It was due
Debit.
Debt. So there's more nuances I can get into it. But for people that are wondering like what's going on, AT&T has a crap ton of debt from different acquisitions they've made throughout the years. Things haven't been going super well over the blue sphere recently. And they also took on debt to be able to even make that deal to buy Warner Media and all that, like, so including HBO Max and that whole suite of things. So part of the sale is to help alleviate their current financial situation. I don't think they're going to go bankrupt or anything like that, but it has just been.
It's going to take time. It's going to take time.
And it's been a chaotic 3 years seeing this merger happen. All the things that have happened with Warner Brothers as a studio, and like the nonsense that's happened with Snyder Cut and like Ray Fisher, Whedon. Kind of just go down the list of ways they've been effing up, and then the whole like blindsided announcement of. We're just gonna release everything on HBO Max, and then all of Hollywood being like, WTF, like what's going on? So this is just like another peg on that. Now, whether that will actually affect Warner Brothers' daily operations, I don't really think so. I mean, I'd really be surprised. Like, if you're an HBO Max subscriber right now, you'd probably be fine. You probably won't see a huge difference. If you watch Warner Brothers movies, don't suspect it to be a huge difference. If you subscribe to HBO Max through AT&T, though, I don't know if that deal is going to be honored. I don't know. So we shall see. That also affects me because I have an AT&T cell phone, and that's how I get my HBO Max. So, so speaking of might have to pay out. Now I wouldn't be surprised if maybe AT&T brokers a deal with the new Warner Media, and the Discovery is the one that's potentially going to be buy them and kind of make the new merger take them out of the telecom business of AT&T. So it is entirely possible that they keep that deal with AT&T for the subscribers. That would not be surprising at all. You think about Verizon, T-Mobile, Sprint, and stuff like that, when they have their deals of Hulu and Netflix, obviously they don't own pieces of that, so that's still a brokered deal between those two companies. So that might be an easy fix, and just to keep the peace between folks that have already subscribed to it and so on and so forth. So that's what I suspect would happen, but it is technically in limbo right now. I can't say for sure that it will happen. So
we love us some Limbo. It's my favorite party game.
yeah.
All I can think about is like Futurama and like Hermes, like Limbo. Or the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, where Grim loses a limbo competition and has to become their best friend. Oh man, cool. Well, that wraps us up for the day. However, we got to hit them with the throwback, Kenny. Any throwback games that come to mind?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, hit me with them.
Oh, oh, oh yeah. Oh, 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 oh yeah. Mm, 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 mm. All right.
As Kitty gracefully stalls for time to think of a game.
Do you need me to stall for you to stall?
No, I'm good.
All right, you go ahead. I'm listening.
All right, cool. Is Valheim a throwback? No. Early access games on a throwback. Let me see. I will say, the playing of Resident Evil, has reminded me of a really really good gaming experience. Dead Rising 1. Way back. It's not that old of a throwback, but at this point, I'll acknowledge that I'm starting in the age to maybe get old. The Xbox 360, super great game, really fun premise. Basically, you're Frank West, a photographer, who visits the town of Willamette in some state in the U.S., which basically it has been overrun by zombies. You pay a private helicopter pilot to drop you off, and with the instructions to pick you up in 3 days, and you get dropped off in a mall. There's tons of costumes you can put on. There's weapons you can grab and use to fight zombies with. It's a Capcom game, so there's tons of little Capcom references. You can put on a server bot head, and you wear that outfit in every cutscene. So you're delivering these lines as like, one of these, the survivors of the mall has gone psycho or whatever, and they're, running people over with like a shopping cart full of gardening tools or something, running people over, zombie and survivor alike or whatever, and you have to stop them, and you take out your baseball bat with your server bot head on and go and like mess up this dude. Really really fun game. I don't know if the first game is on Steam, but I know for a fact that Dead Rising 2, Dead Rising.
Well, for Xbox users, your Dead Rising. Actually, let me look at my shelf. I'm thinking of Dead Space. Now, so
it is on Steam. It is on Steam.
And then for the Xbox users, your Dead Rising would. There's the remakes of those the remasters on the Xbox have been really good. So I don't know if it's that version on that, but they did 1 through 4 on that. It's really good.
Okay, yeah. The first one's really good. The second one, in my opinion, is probably the best one. The third one is pretty good. Still, it's not as good. The acting and narratively, I don't feel like it's as good as the first and second game. It's one like they were like, oh man, what if people, and then you'll slap that onto a motorbike and then ride around and just cut through zombies with your motorcycle bow staff chainsaws. They really nailed it with the second one. The story's really good. The third one's okay. The fourth one is just absolute hot garbage. Like they were just like, memes. Should you just make it about memes? Let's just make it about memes. And it is not good. I think it's the lowest rated of all 4 games. Don't recommend it, but the first 2 for sure. And if you want just a continuation of the story, play the third one too. It's pretty good. It's pretty decent. But yeah, Dead Rising is my throwback. Fantastic game series. How about you, Kenny? What's your throwback?
Sorry, because I was trying to like fix some things on my shelf today, so that's why I was like blanking on because I had a memory. It was like, oh, I know I gotta do throwback tonight, so this is gonna be. So it was partial stalling. You're right, you got me. But also, I was trying to remember. I did already think of it, but I'd forgotten. I couldn't remember it. So this one, a lot of people have not played. It's a Star Wars game. Came on the Xbox and PS2, and it's one of the better Star Wars fighters, in my opinion. And it's not Jedi Starfighter. It's Star Wars Jedi Starfighter, because you get to play in the Jedi, one of the first Jedi ships you see Obi-Wan fly around in on Attack of the Clones, and
the yellow one.
No, the red one. So it's like the very sleeker, longer one.
Oh yeah. Forgot about that.
Before they kind of like push the nose in, and they did end up doing that for the later one. But this is the one that's still kind of long, and it's a super solid game. It takes the mechanics from the first game, adds on these force powers, which works in space, you just kind of have to don't think about it too hard. And
just assume you have it's like Force Unleashed. Like, you remember, like, everybody could pick up a ship and yeet it like a distance.
Yeah.
Just assume it's just like that.
But by the end of this game, you're force lightning from the ship, just whole ships.
Okay.
Like a swarm of fighters will come in, and just like the ship will just force lightning.
That's straight up. That's straight up like exactly how the episode 9 ends, with Emperor Palpatine being like, "I have the power," and like lightninging the whole fleet of ships.
It's like, I've seen this before. Where am I? And then for a lot of games in that era, I don't know why Star Wars ended up getting on Xbox for me, because I just played a lot of them either on, it was like the Rogue Squadron series on GameCube, like N64 and GameCube, or I just got gravitated to Xbox for some reason. But they also looked better on the Xbox, in my opinion. It's not a knock on PlayStation. I love the PlayStation. PlayStation PS2 was able to pump out a lot of great stuff. But just during that time era, there was just some things like PS2 was struggling with when the Xbox came out, and just like Xbox was blowing some graphic stuff out. Like I recently re-picked up Indiana Jones and the Emperor's Tomb, and I'm actually getting rid of my PS2 version, because if you look at those side by side, you're like, these came out in the same generation. Like it's that noticeable. You're like, holy crap, it's bad.
Nice.
The other thing I'll say about Jedi Starfighter, you can currently play that on your Series X. It's backwards compatible. You can pop that bad boy in right now. So yeah, I like it. A lot of fun. Not super long either. You can knock that out in probably like 2 or 3 hours. To be completely honest, the missions are just not that. I mean, once you put it on the highest difficulty, it definitely has a challenge, but you can definitely knock that out. So yeah,
nice.
That's my pick.
Solid recommendation.
Yeah, back when we were getting Star Wars games left and right. And
I know, right? We didn't know how good we had it back then. It's like nowadays they're like, well, can we put microtransactions in the Star Wars game, please? Fortunately, Disney's like, no, you stop doing that. But yeah, we know how good we had it. Cool. What's going down Union this week? Wait, is this all updated? Did you not do this last week? This isn't updated.
It's kind of updated.
Oh, I will let you talk about it then.
So we have not had Commander Ship Show in the last couple of weeks. I've needed a little bit of a break. So me and Tom will be back this Wednesday. Because it's also taxes and things like that. You know, been a little busy. But yeah, we'll be back this Wednesday. We might shoot a video before then of some of the movie news we missed in between those two shows. We'll see. But I have a lot of movie reviews to pump out, so that's probably going to take priority. So, hey, we're going to talk a lot of movies. So, me and Tom, Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Central. Super Blurred is happening this week. I'm going to be talking about Yasuke over on Netflix. The Blackish final season, and different Black shows that it reminds me of, or things that it invoked in me whenever I watched that show, and the impact that it's had. And there's been a couple other topics that I'll throw in there as well that I didn't get an opportunity to talk about. Let's see. So yeah, those are the two. Taryn, my bad.
Oh, you messing up.
The run, and it's even in there. It's in there. The Rundown Fridays with Taryn Bell will be reporting, and I produce that for Taryn. Taryn does a fantastic job, especially since I took the 2-week break. They've been covering a lot of stuff that we have not. Taryn literally updated. I was like, because I didn't feel like I put that in there. I was like, I don't think I typed that. Thank you, Taryn. I still missed it.
This is why we can't have nice things.
Oh, that's bad. Oh. Well, Steve, since I've failed horribly, do you want to do our Patreon shout out?
Yeah, I got you. Cool. We want to give our special thanks to our Patreon supporters. We appreciate your monthly contributions that help us run these dank shows. We want to give a shout out to Shelby Johnson, Vici, Doug Schumann, and Nell Cherry.
Woo, woo, woo.
Pew, 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 pew.
All right.
Air horns.
And we do have your nerd moment of the week. So me and Steve will sign off. And you can enjoy this video of Obi-Wan telling the council to quote-unquote F off. So enjoy, folks. Right.
Oh, I saw this. Nice.
Yeah, y'all have a good night.
Allow this appointment lightly. The council does not. Disturbing is this move by Chancellor Palpatine.
I understand.
Fuck off.
What?
And you, fuck off. And you, and you, and you can all fuck off.
Forgive me, Master.
Fuck off yourself, you must.
Allow this appointment lightly. The council does not. Disturbing is this move by Chancellor Palpatine.
I understand.
Fuck off.
What?
And you, fuck off. And you, and you, and you can all fuck off.
Forgive me, Master.
Fuck off yourself, you must.